What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video we have a little something special for the JZX100, and before we get to that we got to take this thing for a drive. I want to show you a little secret, a little sneak peek of what we have for this thing though. So this right here is a 1JZ-GTE VVTI engine. So this is a factory turbo engine that comes in these cars in Japan from the factory. In the upgraded, more of the upgraded models, namely being like the Tour V. This car is a Tour S, which means that it has all of the cool features of the Tour V other than the turbo engine. So it has the black interior, the carbon fiber stuff. It's got the cool like HID headlights. It's a Chaser and it looks super sweet. So if you haven't seen the transformation video, we put a car modified Wonder Japan body kit on this thing, and we did a full respray on this entire car, and it looks absolutely beautiful. This is our project build giveaway number 19. This is our 19th giveaway, and under the hood is basically a stock 1J VVTI that is non-turbo. So if you guys want to look at that, I'll show it to you real quick. It's not that spicy looking. Right here, it kind of looks almost exactly like the engine that we got here in the United States, which is the 2JZ-GE VVTI. This is a 1J-GE VVTI. Looks like an IS300 engine, 2.5 liter, non-turbo, same over the valve cover throttle body. And I mean, they're good for little dailies and stuff, but they're kind of slow. We're gonna take this thing for a quick little rip, see how it feels, then we're gonna stick it on the dyno and see how much power it makes. So this thing has a reverse chime too, so when you put it in reverse, it goes beep, 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 beep. I think you're gonna be pleasantly surprised at how fast this thing is. No, it's kind of weird. Like you drive it around, and it's pretty weak. And then, I don't know, how's that feel? Like if you did that in traffic, you would keep up with everybody else. And so I daily drove this thing for 3 days and it was pretty slow. You ready? All right, here we go. Drive it to the shop and then stick it on the dyno, see how much power it makes. That was better than I thought. Was it like one wheel?
I feel like it was both. It looked sick.
It didn't seem bad. Like it felt all right. I was like, man, I could actually almost drift this thing.
I didn't think it would.
I didn't think it was gonna do that either.
Yeah.
Well, let's chuck it on the dyno. Let's just freaking fire this guy up. We got the Peric dyno controller all hooked up to this unit. Dyno's plugged in. We're freaking ready to go. We're not gonna load it at all because I don't think it makes enough power to load it anyhow, or where it would care. We're just gonna use the inertia of the rollers. So we're just gonna rip it. that pole was in 4th gear. Kind of want to try another one in 3rd gear just to see how that does. We'll go back and do another one. That's pretty much exactly what the RSX Type S did.
Yeah.
Like it made like right at like 190 like over and over and over again. So like it felt like that much power in a heavier chassis. If that's
pretty smooth.
It's really smooth. It's crazy that with the VVTI you could see right at 4500 where it rolls over that camshaft that it like actually loses power for a second. Like it drops power, it has the peak torque, drops the torque down, and then the power slowly creeps up past it and crosses over at like 5,800 RPM. That's interesting. Yeah, that's like the crossover's right there. 5,700 is when they cross, and then it makes just a little bit more power. But you can see like all of the power in this thing, you know, we're at 150 horsepower right here. What RPM is that? 40 at 5,000?
Yeah, 5,000.
So like, you barely make the 180 or whatever at redline. So in order to like drive this thing around, and like you have to be flooring it all of the time. The crazy thing is that with the turbo 1J in these things, you could free rev it and it makes 10 pounds of boost with the stock turbo, because like the stock turbo has a ceramic wheel, like it's like a sick stock setup. So we're not gonna push this thing much past like what it is stock other than turn up the boost. But I'm just excited to see the power, because 3,000 RPMs is probably where this thing's gonna make like peak power, or peak 3 to 4,000. It'll make like the peak power, peak torque. Maybe not peak power, peak torque. With the turbo 1Js, these things they make so much torque. So I'm excited for that, but I guess let's unstrap this thing off the dyno, get on the lift, and start pulling the engine out. All right, boys, so the engine is out. You can see the baby little 1J right there, which this is a, you know, decent little engine, but as you've seen yesterday, didn't make a ton of power, and that's because on this side of the engine, it doesn't have a turbo. So this cylinder head flange is essentially the same as like a 2JZ-GTE, so a non-turbo 2J, so like the same turbo manifold that you would put on like an IS300 would essentially bolt on here. So you can turbo this engine and you can make a little bit of power, but as far as I know, it's just like the USDM IS300, where they have very small rods, and then I believe the pistons aren't as good, and it doesn't have, the pistons are cast and they don't have oil squirters, or maybe they do have oil squirters on the VVTIs. I'm not 100% sure, but I just know that this bottom end is not good for boost. But the GTE motors, the factory turbo motors, obviously they're built for boost. So that's exactly what we're gonna stick in here. So now the thing that we have left to do is just clean up the engine bay, get this thing all ready, and then swap the manual transmission over to the other engine, the turbo motor. And it looks like the timing belt and everything on that one is pretty fresh, like they just did it in Japan or something. So we'll double check, make sure everything is good with all the seals on that before we stick it in. But yeah, then after that, we got to stick it in and then figure out the wiring, which I think we might have a slight issue with that. because of the year of engine that is, but we'll cross that road when we get there. All right, so the old engine is out and separated from the transmission. We got the clutch kit. That thing is basically brand new because this car was swapped with a manual transmission, so it hasn't been in there very long. And then we have the turbo motor right here, which is pretty much ready to go. Yeah, this is literally like a brand new competition clutch, so should be good to go. This engine looks really fresh, and the timing belt and everything looks really nice on it. Doesn't show any apparent leaks or anything crazy like that on the outside. We have a stock ECU right here, which has an immobilizer, but I have an engine ECU that actually doesn't have an immobilizer. But we do have one issue, and that this car right here is actually out of a JZX110, and this is a JZX100. JZX110s had electronic throttle bodies. JZX110s had electronic throttle bodies, very similar to a 1JZ-GTE VVTI. So it shares that harness and ECU, whereas this chassis has a different plug to like power up the ECU. So we're gonna have to kind of play with the wiring and do a couple things like that. Since I have a non-immobilized ECU, that should be fine. We should be able to make everything work. It's just gonna take another, you know, it's gonna take a little bit longer to wire it up and do a couple other little things, kind of splice things, make things happy, but should be able to make that happen. So yeah, I think that's all we're gonna do for today. We're gonna come back tomorrow and get this thing made it up to the transmission, get it sitting in here, and then I guess start working on the wiring and try to get this puppy to fire up. So we need a throttle cable for the JZX100 because it's in a different location. So good thing we have a partial remaining junkyard out here. So we have a Toyota Prius right here, and then there is 2 Toyota Tacomas right over there. So I'm gonna check this Prius first and we'll see if that throttle cable looks like it's long enough. Most of the Toyota stuff crosses over. I think one out of like a Corolla or something would work good too. This thing's probably doesn't even have a throttle cable. It's probably drive-by-wire. Where's it at? It's down there. Yep, it's drive-by-wire. It won't work. Let's go check these Tacomas. A couple cool things out here. This Fiero, it's kind of been picked a little bit. The landlord, so what they typically do is they have one of these vans, so they kept one of these for parts. This G35 still has an engine in it, but it's auto. Honda Pilot. Just a bunch of things. Random fiberglass bumper. Don't know what that goes on. This BMW. This was a 435i. So there's some parts on that. Then we got an old Porsche. I think this is 914. Got cut up a little bit. Pile of parts right here. But let's see. This one still has an engine in it. Oh, look at that. It's right there. There's a throttle cable. So that one looks a little bit longer. We basically need to go from right here over, whereas the JZX, it has a little bitty one because the throttle body was right here. So this one might be long enough. Let's see if I could fit in here. This thing got pretty whooped. All right, there we go. Throttle cable acquired. Hopefully this is the right one. So this is the Tacoma throttle cable, and this is like, I don't know where this one came from. Where did you find that? The short one, because there were 2 throttle cables. Oh, that was the super one. Okay, so this is the Tacoma one. I don't think it's gonna have enough length to get over there. I mean, maybe we might get lucky and it might barely squeak by, but we will see. We'll put that in a little bit later and figure that out later, I guess. You could see Eric is over here. He's swapping out one of the motor mounts. When we pulled it, you can see this guy was just mad right there. So that thing got pulled, or we're gonna pull that one and then put a new engine mount on it on that side. And then what else are we gonna do? Is that it?
The mount.
We got to do the engine mount. We're going to remove the J-pipe because we are doing a intercooler kit that deletes that. We got to put coil packs in it, a couple other little things like that, and then figure out the whole wiring harness situation, because now we have the JZX110 electronic throttle body with the JZX100 chassis, which the wiring's a little bit different, but I'm going to start looking at some wiring diagrams and doing some of that while Eric pulls off this whole J-pipe situation over here. All right, boys, so engine is on the stand. We got a couple little things swapped out, and we got the wiring harness fixed up. We got the starter thing. We got the starter plugged in there. We got a knock sensor. We got fresh engine mounts on it. And so now it is time to just shove this thing in there, see if it fits, because the engine mounts, they might be different. So we were looking at the brackets. Hopefully they work, but we're going to stick it in there, and then we will see. Don't mind the kids running around because, you know, they're just kids. And then we're going to get this thing in there. So working on getting the engine sitting in the engine bay, and I guess, you know, not everything goes as planned. So like I said before, this thing it's a JZX110 engine, ECU, engine mounts, so some things were changed. So right here you could see, here is the 100 engine mount. So this is the engine, the non-turbo 1J. You can see this is 3 inches tall. This one is 4 inches tall. So these are the engine mounts that came on this engine. Now, what that's doing is that's just giving us the problem that's an inch taller, but then also the brackets are a little bit different. And as the engine sits in there, it just doesn't want to sit in there. It doesn't want to go all the way back. It's basically hitting the firewall, and it's not allowing enough room for the engine mounts to actually like pop down, you know, because basically as it's hitting the firewall, the engine mount bolts are like right here, like, you know, the engine mount bolts need to go in here and then go in the hole, whereas right now they're like on the front of the subframe and they just won't go. So that's exactly what we're dealing with right down there, is we just don't have enough space. Plus we have probably 2 inches that we need to get the engine further back. But I think the combination of the height of the engine mount is kind of messing us up, kind of putting the transmission in a weird spot, making the transmission touch the tranny tunnel as it's going in. We also might have an issue. I mean, I guess, I don't know. The taller engine, I don't know, the brackets are different, but you'd think it wouldn't be that much different, but I mean, they are different. Like, we're talking about an inch right here, so maybe we just need to figure that out and then go from there. But the problem is we broke one of these engine mounts, or that it was broken, you know, when we pulled it out. So, you know, it's not like we have the short engine mount, it's like we have 2 of the tall engine mounts, and that's it. So I mean, we could set that other one on there and it could sit in the thing and we could get another engine mount later, but you know, or get one coming sort of deal. But we're gonna pull it out, look at that, maybe change the brackets, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, so it is the next day, and some new things have developed. So looking at the engine and the wiring and just everything, the combination that we had just was not going to work. There's a few things that are just completely different. So as this harness goes into the chassis, you can see right here, this actually goes through the firewall, whereas the other harness was supposed to stay in the engine bay. So there was an engine bay fuse box, ECU box, very similar to an IS300, and that's essentially what the JZX110 replicates. So I really needed a Chaser one. Well, it just so happens, good thing I'm a hoarder, so I had one saved. Actually, a couple years ago, I sold my buddy a 1J swap, and then he ended up doing a wiring specialties harness in it. And he just asked me one day, he's like, hey, do you want this JZX100 harness back? I was like, oh yeah, bring it on by. So he brought it by. That was probably 3 years ago, and it's been sitting around the shop. So we have it right there. I spent this morning, took everything off, put the JZX100 wiring harness on this thing. Now, we'd still need to deal with an electronic drive-by-wire throttle. They do make a lockout for this thing, and the TPS is different. But as of right now, it should be able to start and run and do all that other stuff. And the big thing about this harness is right here. You can see this one has been wired to go to like a standalone fuse box, basically just give all of these wires power. You can see all these black ones. That's pretty much how you wire a JZX100. So all of this wire, so we have this plug, we're only missing one big plug right here, which is a blue plug, which we have right here. And all of these wires right here they just get power. So as this harness goes into the firewall, this one stays over here on the kick panel and plugs in right there where it gets all of its power and grounds and all that cool stuff, which we have all of these plugs right here, so we could cut these off, put them back on that harness. And then you could see this harness, this goes up underneath the dash, and this is actually, this one actually goes behind the radio where the factory ECU is actually at. So this one plugs in right there. So this is all of our ECU stuff going right there. And this is another plug right here. Well, you can see the nice thing is that we have all of those plugs, which is really nice. So these plugs go into the ECU. This plug right here goes into there. I think this was just a little ground. So again, we be able to depin wires, pin them back in, do whatever, make everything work. And the other thing is we needed an ECU. So it's like, oh, I know I have an ECU somewhere. Well, guess what? I searched all over in my totes this morning and I found an ECU. So you can see we have 2 plugs right here that actually go to the ECU. And then we have 2 plugs right here that actually go to the chassis. And again, the 110 ECU was completely different. None of those plugs worked. So we were gonna have to jump and splice and do wires all over the car in order to get, you know, let's say the tachometer and the speedometer and, you know, just all of those little things that should just inherently work because it's a 1J and a Chaser. It's a Chaser, 1J and Chaser. We would have to do a bunch of other stuff. And getting that engine to run on that wiring harness with this drive-by-wire is no big deal if you want it to run like a race car. If you want it to work like a factory car, well, then you need the Chaser JZX100 harness. So that is exactly what we did. We got it all swapped on. We got it wired in. We got it plugged in. Everything pretty much lined up. The only thing is throttle body is different, but I have a lead on an upper intake manifold with the throttle body. It turns this engine into a JZX100 engine completely. Now we have the harness. We'll fix all that stuff, but I figured I would go ahead and do all of that stuff right now while it was sitting on the ground because it wasn't that fun. It wouldn't be that fun to do it in the chassis. So now we got another motor mount for this side. So we're gonna go ahead and swap the motor mount on this side. We got the old brackets swapped off of here. So it is confirmed the old brackets are 1 inch taller and 1 inch further forward. It's exactly what we were running into yesterday where just it would not go in. And so that's what we're gonna deal with today, is just sticking this guy straight in there. Everything should be happy, and we'll go from there. All right, good progress has been made. Engine is in, transmission is in, exhaust is hanging here. We have a drive shaft which is hooked up, transmission bolts hooked up. Garrett, how you doing?
Not bad.
Where you been?
In the shed. The shipping container over there.
Shipping container. So Garrett's back here. He's just couldn't help himself. He's helping us do some stuff while he's moving some things around. But hooking up the fuel line right here down below. We had to bend the line a little bit to get it in the right area, so that way it'll freaking stop leaking. It's crazy how much it's leaking. Like, it is really leaking. Is it still leaking?
Just chasing it up the line. Now I'm gonna go up there.
Oh, because that one's
up there, any idea?
probably a 19. 19 or, I can't believe it's just still leaking. It is leaking like crazy. Yeah, everything's pretty much done. So we're getting ready to head up to True Focus Fabrication because they are going to be doing an intercooler kit, because as you can see, we don't have no intercooler. I think we're gonna have to do some stuff with the AC lines, trim the bumper, do all that, but they have an intercooler kit that they just released, and so we're gonna put it on this, double check some stuff, make sure, you know, they don't have to modify anything, you know, we'll go from there. We're here to True Focus, and I just got their whole parking lot taken up with my freaking rig. So this is basically what they designed the whole intercooler kit off of. So I was looking at this thing to figure out what I need. They also make this cool little coolant overflow, and they're gonna be working on a catch can as well. But it does a J-pipe delete, which is really sweet. And nice intercooler piping and a big old intercooler. So I'm just gonna cruise inside here. This thing looks familiar. This thing is getting some spicy stuff done to it, which you got, maybe we could give you just a little preview. Look at this. Oh my goodness. So that is, that's making some progress, but Now we are over here kind of doing a little test fit. Look at that. That looks like it works.
Should work.
It looks nice. So the only thing that we're gonna have to deal with is there's some AC lines right here, which are not on your car, which is kind of weird, right?
Yeah, the lines are there, but I don't know if that's a dryer or what that is, but the dryer definitely is.
It's like a receiver dryer. Maybe we could just twist it. Give it a twist.
Something.
You know, hey, what are you doing?
Hey, what's going on?
So Charles is here working today. Charles is working a little bit. But one of the things that you guys said, because we've had a couple ads running, you know, because obviously this is a giveaway car. People are like, why are you giving away a non-turbo JZX, and why are you telling people that it's right-hand drive? Because we know it's right-hand drive. And I think a lot of people, they don't know. Some people don't know that it's right-hand drive, and then also some people don't know that I'm going to turbo it, but they will as soon as there's a big giant intercooler sitting right there in the front. So the intercooler is over here. It's already been done. It's already been fabbed. Look at that. So this is pretty much a kit. So they had already designed this, and we're basically just checking it to make sure a couple things are on there. But we got one of the new Garrett blow-off valves on there. They already welded that on there, which is super sweet. We have the J-pipe delete, which is sweet. This thing comes right out of the turbo, and it's just freaking, it's just a kit. You could just buy a JZX100 intercooler kit, and it looks super sick. So that's what they're gonna be messing with on here. I think they're gonna trim the bumper, and potentially trying to get them to make a downpipe too. So we'll see how that goes. All right, so downpipe too?
Maybe not in a day or two, but we had a little more time with it.
Downpipe?
We can do it. Maybe.
Down.
kind of pressed against the power steering line, so.
Well, that was on a 240 like 6 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So that wasn't, I didn't make that for this. It's just something else. I do have the OEM one with the flange that's not cut. So look at that. Thanks, Charles.
Just pointed right here.
Yeah, just pointing. Well, I'll point it up a little bit. So what do you guys think? Nice clean swap, right?
It's really nice. I like the color.
Yeah.
I like the wheels.
So good. So good.
Color is great.
The silver, I didn't even tiger stripe it, so it turned out really good. Pretty happy about that. Didn't even tiger stripe it, but
Win this car. Watch it on TV.com.
you could, right? What did you comb your hair today?
No, I didn't. It's been a bad day.
Wow.
Leave it to you to point it out, pal.
Wow.
I just want to get a TL today later.
Let's not even run an intercooler. It'll just be straight pipe all the way.
I was thinking about doing that when I brought it up here. I was like, well, because I initially wanted to drive it before it wasn't, wasn't running.
Just throwing something on it just to drive it.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna run like a pipe from here to over there, so we can maybe hit just a little bit of boost.
Right.
But that looks great. I love it.
And that's just like slip fitted together. There's no clamps on or nothing yet.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So, J-pipe delete, which is beautiful. I didn't even know the kit came with that.
Yeah.
I didn't even know.
Yeah, that was,
You designed that.
Yeah, me and him.
But it's
kinda
beautiful.
planned it all out.
I mean, it's beautiful. That looks good. That looks good. The blow-off valve is.
And that'll be on the other side here. I'll
Nice.
go grab the piece for you.
And then we just need to move this guy right here a little bit, and then we should be able to stick the intercooler on it.
Both valves and wastegates laying around.
There's a blow-off valve going on it. What do you think of the Garrett blow-off valves?
They seem pretty nice. I've had a lot of personal experience with like Turbo Smart and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they seem really nice, just like the wastegates.
Yeah.
They seem super quality.
Alright, man.
Oh, they're getting it.
Sorry.
Oh hell yeah!
Hey.
Hey.
Who's really getting the shot?
I mean, right now, me.
Well, I'm getting the shot of the shot getting got.
There you go.
So maybe I'm the one who got the
You
shot.
got the actual shot.
All right, boys, so take a look at that. I just love how this thing mounts the factory crash bar holes right there. So normally there's a little crash bar, but you guys have another one, right?
We do have a crash bar for you.
A little crash bar that just kind of peeks around the front, which is just beautiful. But it's just crazy that they made this all in a jig, and then I just got up here today and they just bolted it on. It all worked, right?
Yeah.
You didn't have to do anything else?
No. Just I'll pull out the one wheel liner, the plastic wheel liner, just in the front. But other than that, no, that's plug and play pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, everything looks really good. I like the Garrett blow-off valve, and then you guys will weld whatever blow-off valve you want, kind of.
Yeah, we have a few different options for blow-off valves to go on there, but yeah, we can kind of customize as needed. So.
And you guys have a pie cut version of this too, right?
We do. A lot more welding, a lot more parts.
Just a little bit more expensive, but this is sick. I really like this thing. I mean, everything turned out good. I love that. And then you guys are waiting on one coupler for the MAF, which I don't even have the MAF right now. And I guess that leads me to the next thing is we are waiting for a couple parts for this thing. I need the right throttle body. I need the right mass airflow sensor, maybe an upper intake, and a couple other little pieces, which I have pretty much found, I think. I have a couple leads on the right things. So I think I'm gonna leave this thing here for probably a day or 2 or 3, and they're gonna go ahead and get everything cut out on the bumper right there as well. And they're gonna take some product photos and update their website and all that other stuff. Get some things for social media, right, Charles?
Yeah.
All the things and all the stuff.
Yep, I'm doing media for these guys now.
So what I'm getting at is that this is a kit that you could buy right here from these guys at True Focus Fabrication, and it literally will bolt on. It's just, this concept is just, it's kind of weird because typically like I just make everything. But like a lot of people, they don't have TIG welders, fabricator that they know, whatever. Whereas this thing, you could buy it and you get a front mount kit for your Chaser.
There you go.
Right? And then what about, I guess you could almost stop it right here if somebody had like a single turbo, right?
Yeah, so we're making a kit for a guy right now that's, yeah, he's just getting, you know, 3/4 of the kit, and then he's gonna fab his own piping for the turbo to go in. So
yeah. Well, I mean, this is the hard part right there. I mean, I absolutely love that, how it mounts and welds and all that other stuff. We also pushed that little thing back, so it actually kind of fits. We're just gonna space this out just a smidge, but because your car that you fabbed it off, it didn't even have that.
Correct, yeah.
So that's the other good thing about testing all the stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm stoked on it. I'm a little bummed that it didn't run in this video, but I promise it will run in the next video. So if you guys have not got entered for a chance to win this thing yet, motionontv.com, get some entries, right?
Yes, sir.
Win this car. But I'm gonna get heading home. I really appreciate the guys over here, and he's getting ready to drive his Chaser home. It's gonna be one of you guys. Gonna drive your Chaser home. See you later.